Wow, it's impressive to be in front of all of you. It's with a lot of humility that I'm really happy to be standing before you today and to share the measurement that we do at Schneider Electric. I must admit that it's a nice, warm and fuzzy feeling when you interact with an international association like the IPRA and they tell you that what you do is kind of interesting and deserves to be presented to other professionals. So thanks very much for that. Thanks to the IPRA. The university, thanks to the organizers for having done a great job today. Also, I have to admit that yesterday our friend and colleague speaker, Edgar Malta, finished his presentation by saying, measure or die. And as I have no intention of dying in the near future, I thought I'd show that we measure. Okay, so in order to follow the protocol, I'm going to be presenting a bit about the Schneider Electric and explaining what we do. Schneider Electric is a very old company, has been around for almost 180 years, has started with the steel industry. And over acquisition, has specialized afterwards into power and control. And in 2007, as you can see, through the acquisition of APC, which I come from, has specialized in more energy management. This is what we do. We've been around, and it's a complex crowd of acquired companies, and that's very important in what I'm going to be demonstrating to you today. Okay. Why are we in the energy management? There's a big dilemma today, and it's here to stay. The need for power, electrical power, is going to double between now and 2050, and we're going to have to cut the CO2 emissions by half if we want to not hurt this planet. What are the consequences? Because we're needing more power all the time, and we can't produce that power, there's frequent power outages. We've seen that several times. There's cases in India, everywhere. Obviously, rising energy prices are a consequence of scarcity. Also, if we don't do anything about the CO2 emission, there's going to be a significant climate change leading to, obviously, conflicts for resources and access and control. So it's a serious business out there. And as you can see, ×2 in energy demand, divide by 2 the CO2 emission, there's a 4x issue that we need to fix here. And how do we fix it at Schneider Electric? We don't do anything about the production, anything on the production side. We don't do anything about the usage side. We stand in the middle in the energy management business. We want to make the energy safe, reliable, efficient, productive, and hopefully green if we can work on the renewables as much as we would like to. The objective is to achieve savings from anywhere between 30 to 70%, and that's the business we're in. This company has a broad reach and operates in all geographies, over 100 countries, as you can see. We spend some significant money in R&D to deliver the solutions that we sell. There are 5 different business units. In short, it's a mess. It's very complex, a lot of countries, a lot of businesses to interact with when you're a global service, as I am, in global marketing doing PR. Just for the PR side now, I deal with 47 agencies worldwide in 52 countries, and we measure in 43 of them. Here are the name of the agencies we use. As you can see, we're not going with a network. I'm not going with any of the centralized processes. I had to build my own. So when I started at Schneider Electric, this is really what I thought the job was going to be. Teamwork between the businesses, the countries, and myself. Global PR. I think I look with my beard more like the previous James Bond, but it doesn't matter. And reality was slightly different. Actually, what really was the situation was more like this. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little kid stuck in the middle, and that was me. So just to make my point here, it's just because of these complexity, you try to come with your processes and you're actually having a tough time at first. So learning objectives for this presentation today really is to make sure that you can explain the contribution of PR to your peers, but also to your management. Explain also the PR share of voice and the necessity for PR share of voice dominance. And I'll also share with you 4 tools that we use at Schneider Electric to allow for measurement. Contribution to business. So what drives demand purchases at Schneider Electric Solution? Okay? We all know, and I work in that department, marketing communication activities. As you can see here, there's PR, events, advertising, trade show, direct marketing. There's also our sales force. Let's not forget these guys. They're the ones that actually go and get the orders and get the money in. There's our channel. We have electrical distributions, specifiers, resellers, engineers, etc. And we also have our current installed base. If they're a satisfied customer, they are going to be recommending rebuying. Okay? So why and how does PR help sales? It is important to explain, and that's what I explained to the CEO and to the country president on saying why they should be doing PR. Articles demonstrate to our channel that we're actively working towards creating awareness and demand of the solution they're carrying. That's a very good point to show to them. Sometimes we overlook that. Articles make our solutions known to the end user. And because it's considered as a third-party analysis of your solution, bears way more credibility than advertising will ever bear. Thirdly, if you have the chance to be in a comparative review, it positions yourself versus your competitors. And that's something that is priceless in the value that it delivers to the company. And just by doing some simple what drives demand studies, you can actually demonstrate how much it contributes to the business. And this is what I'm going to be sharing with you now. Don't get dazzled by this graph. There's a lot of lines there, but I'll be zooming in what's important. We do what we call how hear, why buy studies. So we call our customers that we know of, and we ask them, why did you purchase our solution? And there's a number of drivers here. As you can see, there's the dealer, so the reseller, advertising, rebuy, previous use, etc. Let's focus on what is of interest to us today, reviews, which is really PR. I'm going to be zooming on these things. You see the blue line? Reviews, reviews. A significant jump in Q2 '08. As you can see, it goes from here to up here. Significant jump. So I thought to myself, okay, well, what happened? I looked at one of my tracking tools, and I'll share that tool later. What happened here in May, a significant increase in my visibility in the press. I do this through clipping booklets, but I'll show you that later. So I went, okay, let's take a look at the clippings of May 2008. The reason why, by the way, I'm sharing these old data is because obviously it's now beyond confidentiality. I can't share recent data, but it's still very significant and good illustration to what we do. So I took a look at the clipping booklets, and this is what happened. This is what I saw. There was, because it's a German analysis, in the clipping booklet of May 2008, a comparative review in Computerbild, which is a mainstream IT publication for the end users. And in that comparative review, the situation was that we won first editor's choice was the product of Schneider Electric. Okay, so comparative review, we are measured versus our competitors, we win the comparative review, and we see that there's a significant impact on why people have been purchasing our solutions. Now you go, okay, so well, what's the impact? We need measurement there. So I went to see the sales analysis team. And as you can see here, on the exact same month, the significant increase in the kind of organic sales level that we were having. Estimated to 140,000 euros onwards, starting from that point. And that's just that specific product SKU, that model. So I said, okay, well, what about the product line? And if you take a look at the product line, where it's like less powerful and more powerful model of the same device, the actual impact on sales was 244,000 euros. When you have access to data like this, believe me, you can sit down at the CEO's table and be a business partner. It's very easy to do. How hear, why buy, 100 customers every quarter, do it through a student, get that data, and go into an in-depth analysis afterwards. So press relation is, and for me, has always been, and if it's not the cheapest, less costly marketing activity with the broadest reach and the highest speed. And you can justify this if you take a look at your marketing budget. At Schneider Electric, it's probably not a secret to say this to you. I'm less than 2% of the marketing budget, with significant impact on sales, as you can see. If you don't have a budget for a PR agency, you can actually develop it internally. And if you have major launches, just use an agency for that specific on a project base. And make sure that you do the ROI calculation, as I said, because it justifies your work. So that was to understand the impact on sales and the way I've been sharing it with my management. Okay? Now we're going to take a look at the measurement I do. There's a saying that says if you don't know where you are and you don't know where you want to go, and that's back to the day one yesterday to understand where we are so that we can set realistic objectives, well, you might end up somewhere else. I don't know who actually said that, and I've been looking around, and if I can't find, I'll eventually attribute it to myself as a quote, because I don't know who said that. But a question for you in the audience. What do you use today to track your agency? Does anybody have something that they use? Well, okay, well, there's something that is pretty common, right? Equivalent advertising value. Okay? I say that measurement technique is, I mean, it's a myth that it's true. It doesn't make any sense for me, and some of the agencies around here today probably are not going to like me for this, but it's to justify that we don't pay them enough. And also it resonates pretty nicely with the country managers and the CEO because there's a big number there associated to an activity. But I don't believe that's good enough. It's one of the metrics, it's not the metric that we use. One of the reasons for this is because it doesn't look into whether we're in the right publications or not. It says we've generated sizable visibility that if it had been an ad would have cost X. Also, it does not compare yourself to competition. And we're going to take a look at share of voice, which is a very significant way to look at measurement at Schneider Electric. The 4 tools that we use are an activity report on a monthly basis, the clipping booklets, which is also, I hope everybody's familiar with clipping booklets, because sometimes I give this presentation to people who have no idea. And you are PR professionals, believe me, country presidents have no clue. It's the clippings of any article that has been published on ourselves, but also on our competitors. There's what I call it's a measuring and sharing tool, what I call spot communication, and I'll expand on that a bit later, and the quarterly KPI report, key performing indicator. The 2 first tools are done locally and on a monthly basis. The one on the bottom left is done locally and on an ad hoc basis, and I'll share why. And the other one is centrally quarterly. We're actually looking at activity, what we do, with the monthly activity report. With the clipping booklet, we're looking at output. What do we get out of this? With the third tool, we're actually sharing noticeable results immediately because timeliness is very key in PR, if you ask me. And also with the KPI, we look into how we compare to competition. So let's dive a bit into these different tools. First tool I was sharing. Monthly activity report is something, now I have to admit that that's probably the tool that probably all PR agency has. They tell you and they're capable of reporting every month on what they've been doing for you. That's pretty straightforward. And I never enforce this template onto them if they can answer all of these questions. I want a highlight, lowlight summary, because if I only have 2 minutes to give to that country, remember 47 countries, that's the only thing I'm going to focus on. And if you don't put alert, help Thierry, I'm not going to dig in. So highlights, lowlights, number and name of press release issues in that month, numbers in interview, who, when, what was the topic, have we had contacts with analysts, product and test reviews, special contributing articles, et cetera, et cetera. If I want to be able to have access to this information every month, and it's an incremental document, I do not want people to spend time on reporting by having to say, okay, we're the 30th of the month, we're going to have to send that report, it's going to take me 5 hours. Forget that. This is a living document. Every time you do something for me, as your account, open the document, log it, exactly, I can see you know what I'm talking about. Log it in, save it. On the 30th, just email me that form. That's it. There's no extra reporting I'm asking for. The rest is pretty straightforward. That's what we do, and done by the PR agency or the country Marcom, and it's done locally. Clipping booklets. I don't want simple clipping booklets where you just have the article. I need them also to log it into a templated format so that I can then have an agency log the information in a database without making any mistakes on the circulation, the targeted audience, what products are being quoted, what competitors are being quoted. That's the job of the local agency. Not everybody speaks Polish and Czech, and so that's really the job. It's very simple, templated way to approach this. That is obviously done, it's what we get. It's obviously done by the country market manager or the PR agency locally. So that's a second tool. Very important. I'd like people, when there's a nice article that comes out, to share it immediately with the sales team and their peers. And I want to be able to share the good and the bad. It's really powerful for a sales guy to have an email in the morning when he goes on his sales calls and to see the latest article about how good we are so that he can actually add it to the appendix to the proposal he does to a customer. On the other hand, you also want that sales guy to be aware if one of our competitors has an amazing review so that when he sees John and John says, hey, did you see the article about this competitor? He goes, yeah, absolutely. And you know, they're doing really good stuff, but our solution is slightly different. This is why. By just sharing this, nobody's sidetracked. Nobody's surprised by the fact that, yes, our competitors are going to get coverage. Tell to your sales team. They have to know about this as well. So that's the third tool that I use to measure, track, and share. The fourth tool is the quarterly KPI reports. I'm going to expand on this typically. In that quarterly report, I have objectives of share of voice. The share of voice objective that I have for every country is of 30%. But more importantly, our runner-up has to be half our size, so twice the size of our nearest competitor. If I have a competitor that has, if I have 30% share of voice, but my nearest competitor has 20, we're not doing a good job enough. They're too close in visibility to the objectives I'm setting to our company. And if there's lab reviews, I really want us to make sure that we capture 80% of these awards out there. And it doesn't need to be just like the editor's choice. It could be, the top 3 companies that are doing something for your bottom line. That's the type of recognition that I want people to be going after. Okay? The quarterly KPI tool, and I'm going to dig into some specific, is actually an Excel sheet, which is delivered to me and which I share with the countries on a quarterly basis. There are 25 different types of graphics, and I'll be sharing 4 with you only for the sake of time. 25 different types of graphics that we look into to understand how we perform. Okay? So top 40 products, most published, exposed segments, most active media in the brand. So let's dig into this more specifically now. What we're looking at here is what are the products the most visible. And as you can see here, but you probably can't read it obviously from that far away, the most visible topic in Germany, because we're still looking at the same data, on that year, in that year 2008, which is actually the 4 last quarters, was a corporate news. So earnings, anything which is not specifically a product. So opening a channel partner, having a customer success that we share, all this would be called corporate. So that's pretty significant type of visibility here. All the other here products are actually products. The blue bars are competitors. So I can sit down with my businesses in that country and say, we are in the top 10 most visible brands, we captured 9 of them. And that's who they are. Also, it allows me to say, okay, if I have a product which is highly strategic, and I see it's probably down there, I say, okay, well, maybe we should be focusing a little bit more on that product to push it to the left to make it more visible versus the other ones. Another type of graphic that we look at, the red bars are Schneider Electric visibility towards, within specific customer segments. Okay? So for example, here, we can see that in the business financial press, there's only 2 actors actually talking to these people. It's APCMG, which is the IT brand of Schneider Electric, and Rital, right? So I know that, okay, should I do a financial press focus? Maybe not, I'm really dominant there. However, if I take a look at the MIS press, which is CIOs, I can see that we're not dominant there. So I can start focusing my PR plan for the next quarter and say, you know what? We have a shared defect specifically in that press segment, and I want us to figure a plan out to go and address these people because I don't want to be non-visible in any of these segments there. I mean, if you take a look at a sales process, it's a number of different influence points, right? There's the guy who's in charge of installing your system, there's the CFO, there's a number of people need to be aware of the product and solution, and if they are, then it's an easy sell for our sales guys. Okay, so again, Rital here, very active in these type of publications, none here in the end user space, for example. That last graph is probably one of my favorites, and I'll share with you why. What we're looking at here is when a publication, what are the top publications that actually talk about the industry we're in? And when they do talk about that industry, what are the brands which are quoted, okay? And as you can see, the red still, Schneider Electric, pretty dominant everywhere. However, there are some publications here where we're actually not that dominant. Also, and so I know who to go and maybe try to flirt with a little more, invite to a press tour or anything. Furthermore, which is very interesting in the way I use it with my CEO and all the other stakeholders in the company for that matter, is to say, okay, let's take an example at Saikon Socomec here, which is the blue bar, okay? Imagine that my company comes with a Saikon Socomec competitive solution, okay? An anti-Saikon Socomec brand. My CEO or my general manager comes over in that country and has only time for 2 interviews to focus on that product. Who am I going to call? Well, probably this publication and this one. That's it. Also, because I know that this publication name, and I can't read the name, I apologize, but also because I know it's this publication and it's in the last year, it's easy for me to go and search the clipping booklets and to understand what the article was saying about that competitor. Same for here. So then I can sit down and prepare my speaker and say, okay, you're going to be meeting these 2 publications. The reason why we invited them is because they've been talking about the competitors that we're actually having a solution against right now. And this is what they said. This is what we recommend you go after with, etc. And believe me, when you talk to a general manager this way, they go, wow, they know what they're talking about. It's not spray and pray. This is a sniper approach. Okay? This is a sniper approach. He has 20 minutes to give me, 2 times 10 minutes. That's the people I'm going to invite. When you show, and there's 25 more of these graphics that we use. This is really why when you have access to measurement like this, you can tell people that you know what you're doing, and you're not just booking conference rooms or restaurants to have people speak to the press. We go way beyond that, and this is what we do. The last slide I have here for you is 3 thought leader ideas I'd like to leave with you, and there's 10 minutes left, so we're perfectly on time. What we do at Schneider Electric is the yearly Best PR Agency Award. And actually that's how Christophe Genisti and myself have interacted recently, and why I've been welcome to speak before you today. I want the agencies to actually compete against one another. Okay? I want the countries to also be competitive to one another. And what we do is we have them, we have the countries, the Markham, judge their PR agencies on a number of criteria such as responsiveness, creativity, understanding and knowledge of the industry, et cetera, and they have to grade themselves. I then grade themselves on timeliness of the reporting, cleanliness of the reports, and obviously performance, share of voice. Put all this together, come the top performers, and last year for the first time I went to see Christophe in the IPRA and I went, here are the top 4. I don't want to be the one to pick. I want you to look into this and you tell me who you believe is doing the best job. And they went, wow, that's an interesting way to look at things. So, idea for you to take away today as well. Back to that one idea, what the real purpose of this is not to give money to an agency to go and have fun or an award or a plaque, it's not that. I want people to be able to sit down with their agency and to evaluate whether they're happy or not with the different type of services they're getting. And believe me, if they can't give, because they rate them on a scale of 5, if you don't rate them a 4 or 5, you've got a problem. And you want to talk to your agency about that. Responsiveness, I can't give you a 4, sorry. I'm going to have to give you a 3 because the other day this is what happened. That forces the people to address this issue every year. And those who don't take part because it's not compulsory, believe me, I have them on the phone. And I say, why? It's not an exam, it's a beauty contest. Take part. Second idea I wanted to share with you is Best Energy Management Editorial Award. You know what? Editors give us awards. Why don't we give them awards? Okay? I came up with the idea to say the field of energy management, which I am in, is pretty complex. And it requires some investigation, research, etc. Out there's probably 10 or 20 really good papers that come out with a very good analysis of the situation in the markets. Why don't we just tell them we think it's really good what they do? Okay, and it doesn't need to be me to select, it's my idea, but what really we're doing, I'm asking other professionals to have a reading committee, read these articles that we have pre-selected, and decide, just like the Oscars in the US, which one is the nicest one this year. Believe me, the editor who receives an award from yourself, from a professional association about a certain field that he's in, He's going to love you because his editor-in-chief is going to think he's a really smart guy, and he can, he's really a good friend of yours in the future. And it's not a question of, even if you're selected, you're happy already. You don't need to get the award. Even just the selection works. Last idea that we use a lot at Schneider Electric, and I'll be probably short on time, but reward your employees to think outside of the box. You need smart ideas. And what we do at Schneider Electric, and actually it's not one of the things I do, it's the thing that my CMO does, is that every year we award a smart idea in a different type of category. And then we reward the dumbest idea. Because we want people to take risks. And nobody's going to hold it against you to have tried something which has failed. And remember how I said share the good and the bad, the good as well as the bad? Same here. Share what you have tried, which has worked. Share what you have tried and has failed, so that somebody else doesn't make the same mistake. That will conclude my presentation for you today, and I'm a bit short.